Hi, this is John from US Angler, and today I want to talk to you about the dropper loop knot. It's simply an awesome knot to know because it does a lot of things well. So stay with us and I'll show you how to tie this knot and we'll talk about it in depth. Here's how you tie the dropper loop. You start by placing a loop where you're going to want the final knot in your line. Now the size of this initial loop is going to determine the size of the loop that you end with, so keep that in mind. What you then do is tie a simple overhand, repeating that coil 4 to 5 times. Now I'm not going to do it that many times here just for demonstration. You then create a small extra loop and continue coiling just as you've done 4 or 5 times. When you get to the end, and this is the only tricky part, you're going to pass the back of that loop through that small front loop, grab it with your teeth, and then you can cinch it down with both hands. Just like that. Now, I've tied this in paracord so that you can see it clearly, but this knot ties much more easily in fishing line. Now that you know how to tie the dropper loop, let's talk about why you'd want to rely on it. The first reason is that it can replace a 3-way swivel. So if you don't have one, the dropper loop really simplifies the problem for you. But the other reason you might want to rely on this rather than a 3-way swivel is that the knot that you use to attach your main line or your leader to the swivel can fail. And this knot is generally going to be a lot stronger than that. We'll talk more about strength in a moment. The second reason that you would want to rely on the dropper loop is if you want to run more than one hook, whether that's maybe 2 flies on the end of your line, or perhaps you're running some sort of double rig in saltwater where you need to have 2 hooks. The dropper loop lets you place a second hook anywhere you want on your line relative to your terminal tackle. The third reason that you want to rely on the dropper loop is that it's very, very, very strong. In contrast to most other knots, this one just can't really let go. There's just no point of failure on this knot to speak of. It's a very good knot. The fourth reason is that it's pretty fast to tie once you know how to do it. And that matters when you need to get back into the action quickly. And the last reason is that it's pretty easy to tie too. This is almost foolproof. Once you've learned how to tie it, you're not going to forget it or mess it up. Now, like all knots, the dropper loop can fail. And the principal reason is the principal reason that most knots fail. You've tied it in frayed or damaged line. Don't do it. Always check your line for damage and cut it off if there's any sign that you've done anything to that line. The only other problem you're ever going to have with it, as I mentioned before, is that if you tie this in light or thin lines, because it's simply not going to be stiff enough to hold your leader out away from your main line, and you can have problems with tangling. Other than that, it's simply a fantastic knot to know. We hope you learned something today, and as always, we'd love it if you would like and subscribe. So please click the bell below.